Fire away. It was great to be back. You know, this is why you compete, is to be out there with your team. So today was day one. We are officially at the beginning.
How does what you're trying to accomplish today differ from this time last year, having like a full year?
I think it's an excellent question. I think I have a much better sense of who our team is and what our organization's about. I think you have a lot better understanding of everybody that helps make our team what it is. And I think there's a lot that goes into that. But I think that the one thing that always strikes me about the NFL is that you're building something new every single year. You're not building on what you did. You're building something new every single year. And today was the beginning of that. But I know that the people who are here have a lot of confidence in how we do it.
So is it more reinstall instead of maybe picking up a little bit where you left off last year?
I think it's you're installing a lot of the same things that you did, but you're able to do it faster because there's people who have actually been through it. So I think the pace is better, the expectations are better. You're not having to explain everything for the first time to everybody every single day. You're not having to do that. And so I think that that's a big advantage for us right now. And now we're able to focus on the little things in football that make a big difference.
So having said that, what are some of these maybe short-term goals of what you want to get out of this, having these guys here for OTA?
Yeah, in the springtime you don't have shoulder pads on. You're not playing full speed contact, tackle, blocking, full speed to the ground. So what you have to focus on is assignment, technique, and effort. Because I can't measure anyone's toughness right now. I can't measure someone's physicality right now or their discipline because we're not playing football. But what we can measure are those three things that I'm talking about, and hopefully we're able to do that and really focus on the little things that can really build a strong foundation for training camp. And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure if you see our work out there that we too spot a lot of the things so that our young players are getting those chances to grow, to improve, to be ready to compete in training camp. Because that's when it's real. And so what we're trying to do over these next 11 practices is set the foundation for training camp.
Brandon, seeing Kyle, Leonard, and Khalil Mack out there, all these guys you got on defense, what went through your mind?
Confidence. Those are real NFL players that you talked about. Those two that specifically that you mentioned, but I know what I see out there, and those two are two of the best players that we could have joined up with this offseason, and it was awfully good to see him out there.
We saw Khalil working off to the side. Is that easing him back in from the foot? What's going on?
Yeah, he's in really good shape. He's got a lot of confidence in where he's at right now. We just want to make sure we phase him in the right way. He's going to be in all the walk-through stuff, jog-through stuff, but we want to make sure an individual that he just comes back the right way. He could probably go full speed right now, as you guys probably saw. I mean, he looks good, but just we want to make sure we phase him in properly.
We all know all the guys you've added on defense. Between now and the start of the season, what's going to have to happen for that defense to become what you want it to become?
Well, we got to become a team defense, which is all three levels, playing the game the right way from a technique standpoint, from an assignment standpoint, and then them understanding, how it all fits together. And this group does. This group that we've joined up with, we're off to a good start with them. And I'm excited because it's a deep group, it's an experienced group. I think we have that good mix of veteran and youth, but they're all guys that we know that fit how we want to play. And now there's a lot of work to do between now and our first game, and today was a good start of it.
The secondary is particularly a lot of players, a lot of depth there right now. Where does Michael Davis fit into this scheme, Harry?
Yeah, Vato's going to be right in the mix there. It's going to be very competitive in the secondary. I think what we've done is we've acquired a lot of depth in order to make it a competition. And I think that is what we were after really in all phases of our team, but I think specifically on defense and in the kicking game, we really wanted to make sure that we get the best of the best out there so we can find out who those guys are going into next season that are going to compete, start, play for us, earn a role, and Mike is going to be right in the middle of that competition for us.
For you personally, Coach?
We know he had ankle surgery. Do you have any sort of timeline on when you might be back? Are you thinking maybe training camp? Or
yeah, I think that the timeline is for him to be full speed for training camp, and I think that from now and until the summertime, until that training camp starts, just the rehabilitation process. I know that he's going to be able to be weight bearing here soon, and then once that starts, then it's really a sprint to get to training camp. But we expect him to participate in training camp.
Brandon, with Kyle, is he primarily edge rusher or a little bit of both, inside linebacker too?
Yeah, Kyle's been, kind of his trademark is that he can do either. He can play on the edge, he can play behind the ball. He's a very versatile player. But what he does better than anything is he's extremely instinctive, and he's a playmaker. He can make plays at both of those positions, and he can run the show. He's been in the green dot, in New England. So we just feel like that versatility is really going to help us in that championship experience. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's been a part of top 5 defenses really wherever he's been, and I'm really excited to join up with him.
How do you balance developing Zion Johnson but still expecting a lot from him in year one?
Yeah, we drafted him because of both those things. We expect to develop him. We don't expect Zion to be, in game 1 where he is today. But we think that this guy's got a lot of special characteristics. He's got a lot of toughness. He's got a lot of versatility, and he's got a lot of ability. And so we think that he fits how we want to play inside. He fits the style of lineman that we want. And he was off to a good start today out there, and we just expect him to give it his best. We know that he's good enough, and then he will be able to improve because we know what he's going to put into his game. But we really feel like he's going to be a tremendous asset for our offense.
Brandon, how do you balance Derwin being the defensive play caller last year and build off of that versus allowing him to kind of move around and just play?
Yeah, we want Derwin to be the signal caller of our defense because we feel like he is the leader of our defense. We feel like the way he plays, where he plays, whether he's playing safety, star, or money, he's in the middle of the defense. He never leaves the field. So we think that that's important. We think that can be an advantage. We were able to do that with John Johnson with the Rams. We were able to do it with Derwin last year. And so what I think is going to be important is Derwin was fantastic for us last season. What we've done is we've surrounded him with a lot more depth and talent so that all of his talents will shine even brighter than they did last season because of who he's joined up with. But Derwin, all he needs to do is continue to do what he always does because he's one of the special players in the league.
You mentioned depth in the secondary and kind of building more depth. When you were with the Rams, you played a lot of guys in the secondary and you kind of found unique roles for them. Is that kind of what you want to continue to build here?
Yeah. We got off to a good start with that last year, and then we faced a bunch of injuries. And I think that if you look back at our season, we were headed that way, and then we kind of got cleaned out at corner and at safety with a bunch of injuries. Where now, if you look at the depth of our secondary, certainly through free agency and the draft, now we have the type of depth that I think allows you to truly play the way you want to play. And then we'll figure it out this springtime and who emerges as starters and what their exact roles are going to be. There's going to be a lot that's determined between now and training camp.
Just initially, where do you feel like Bryce fits into that whole equation? The secondary, is he's played more slot in his career, but he can play both inside and outside. Just where does he fit exactly?
Yeah, well, he's one of the top slot cover players in the league, and he has been really since he started in Chicago. So he really gives us a lift there in the slot because of his experience, especially in our system. But he's played outside too. I mean, when we went to Denver, we really signed him to play outside because we had Chris inside. So the reason why I think Bryce is such a good player is because he can play effectively at both spots. But the experience and the playmaking ability that he has within our defense, he's been a part of some of the top defenses in the NFL throughout his entire career. He's been a playmaker, a ball producer, and we think that he's got real toughness, and I'm excited that he's with us.
Does that free you up to maybe keep Asante on the outside more, just having like a little more depth there inside?
Yeah, I think what you said, Daniel, it doesn't force you to play Asante inside. We certainly want Asante to train in there because he has a lot of good skills to play in the slot, but we don't have to do that. And I think that what we were hoping for is to make sure that we get our best combination of secondary players out on the field. And I think through some of the acquisitions we were able to make in free agency, the draft, now we're able to truly put that best combination of secondary players out there.
Hey, Coach. Inside defensive line, do you feel like you have enough depth there now for the season made up for free agency?
Yeah, well, we're certainly in a different spot, than we were at the end of the season. And I think that when you start with, Sebastian and Austin, those guys really fit how we want to play. And they've got a lot of experience playing the way we want to play, a lot of production. But then we were able to join up with Foxy here. We drafted Tito. And then, there's a lot of guys coming back, that are going to be 1 year better in our system. They know exactly, what's expected of them. And I think that, we also added some pieces on the edge. I think that it all fits together. But I'm really excited about that group and Jay Rogers coaching them. I think it's going to be a group that is much improved.
Was the competition point of that position there, those 3 spots, are Are the jobs open for everybody? To come training camp?
For defensive line?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think certainly Austin and Sebastian have established themselves, and we're really expecting a lot from them. That's why we went and signed them in free agency. So I think that you guys can, expect those guys in there for sure. But then how that front is built, there's a lot of time between now and our first game. And I think by bringing in more depth, now you can truly get that, really establish each guy's role within the system, because we play a lot of packages. You can really establish their roles and really get them doing what they do best.
Hey, Coach, your second year in a row, how are you personally feeling about this season ahead of you? And then what have you done this offseason so that you're better prepared for the year to come up?
Yeah, good questions, Cam. I think I'm just in a lot better rhythm. Last year, you're having to explain everything to everybody for the first time all the time. That's happening every single day. And now that's not the case. Things aren't happening to me for the first time anymore. And I think that I'm just in a lot better rhythm. I think I'm able to communicate even more clearly, take my, communication is one of your number one roles as a leader, and being able to express that to everybody in the organization, not just the players and coaches, it's everybody in the organization. So, just how we orchestrated practice today, so much smoother than it was a year ago. And I think that that's a winning edge. And so there are a lot of parts in my game that I needed to improve of from last year, and it would be a long press conference to go through all of it. But I think that, that's where you have to start, when you're talking about improving your football team. You need to start with yourself. And it started from the end of that last game to now, and it's always ongoing until the first game. And I think, that's, part about being a competitor is that there's always more. And, I'm certainly going through that right now.
Considering all the changes you guys have made on the defensive line this offseason, all the new faces, where does Jerry Tillery fit into that group? Yeah,
I think he's going to fit into that competition of guys that's going to have to earn a role. And I think that during this springtime and during training camp, all those guys are going to have to really duke it out to establish themselves. And I think that, like I told you, I think Sebastian and Austin are proven NFL players. They're proven NFL players. Khalil Mack's a proven NFL player. Derwin James is a proven NFL player. Then there's a bunch of guys that are trying to prove themselves, to earn their way in the league, and I would put him in that category.
For being a new acquisition and everything, any worries about JC not being here today?
Oh no, JC's been here through the whole offseason. He just had a little plane deal coming out of Boston. But JC's been here the entire offseason, and we're excited to get him out there.
Okay, so he'll be on the field this week?
Yes, sir.
The lineman you guys claimed off waivers, Zach Bailey,
yeah.
Is he a tackle or more of an inside guy? Or?
He's played both, but we felt like joining up with a guy that had NFL experience, that had been in an NFL building over the offseason, that would be an advantage. So he's going to kind of add to our O-line depth. He's played in games, and so we're excited to add him to our group, and kind of met him last week, and he's out there on the practice field, and he's going to be able to, I think, really compete and give us a guy throughout the offseason and training camp that can really add to the depth of the O-line.
So we could see him pretty much
Probably
across
both.
the line?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay.
Justin had mentioned that he wanted to improve his drops. That was one of the areas that he wanted to focus on. Is there anything in terms of situational football that when you did your self-scout that you felt like he could improve on during the offseason?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, he talked about his drops. I think his balance and body control, it's something that he does very well. I think especially for a young player, and then from under the center in the shotgun, I think that when he has his feet in good position, he's already one of the special passers in the league, but I think there's a confidence that comes when my body's in the right spot, like the way I can really throw the football, and he has such a high standard for how he throws the football. To me and you, it could look like a special throw, but for him, maybe it doesn't feel so special because he knows what he has inside of him. So he's been really working hard with Shane on his fundamentals and really solidifying that, and I think that's what's been great about the offseason to really work on that. And then situationally, to answer that question, there's just, I think as a young player, especially at that position, there's so much that you experience for the first time, and every time you go out there, there's going to be something that you learn. But now he's got 2 full years worth of experience, 1 full year of experience in our system, where I think that he can translate that situational awareness even faster, and where he can really be in the lead, run the show. And I know that that's what he's after, is to really command that position to the fullest, it's always ongoing. Even the guys who have played such a long time, there's so much to experience. But I think that Justin's so sharp. He's going to get there because of how hard he works.
And just with Morgan Fox, I know we touched on it a little bit at the groundbreaking, but what do you like about his game, and what do you feel like he'll bring to your team?
Morgan is tough. He is physical, and he is disciplined. He's got versatility to play a bunch of different places in the front, but Morgan is really, really tough. And the guy, wherever he's been, whether it was high school, college, or the NFL, has rushed the passer at a high level. And when it was 2020 and we were with the Rams and it was known pass, Morgan Fox was a starter for us, with Aaron in there. So it was exciting to join up with him, and he's in that group competing, for a role. But I was really excited to get Morgan on this team.
Just going back to what you said at the beginning, you can't measure physicality at the moment because of OTA rules. So how much of it during OTAs is measuring maybe a player's acumen and responsibility and how much you can take on?
Yeah, Joe, I think that's an important point. We want to make sure that these guys, are accountable for their assignment, accountable for their technique in terms of how it's being taught, and then the effort that they give. That's what we can measure right now. And then as these installs grow, we will be able to measure their acumen. And I think that the one thing that you want to be able to do, you want to be able to measure, everybody on the team, and the only way to do that is to give them an opportunity, and that's why we kind of two-spot the field so that all of our young guys are gaining that same inventory, so that they're not behind, and I think that we got that off the ground today, and I'm excited to see these guys continue to grow within the way we do things.
Well, Brian, it's only amazing things could change quickly, but what's the plan at right tackle for right now?
Yeah, as I told you guys after the draft, I think that we've got two guys, from last season that played quality football for us in Storm and Trey. I think both of those guys played quality football for us, and I think those guys are going to compete. And then we've got several guys who have played right tackle. Matt Filer being one of them. We've got some of these young guys that have played tackle in college, and again, there's a lot of time between now and our first game. But I think those guys are going to duke it out. And I think that, like I said, we're excited to see those guys to continue to improve. And I think what's not lost on us as coaches or in our organization is that, we were a very good offensive football team last year. And Trey and Storm both played a lot of winning football for us, and we expect those guys to continue to improve. And then we feel like we've added some good depth, to kind of complete the overall offensive line. So we're excited to see that take shape.
All right, thanks, Coach.